Now, Ms Wheeler, can we just look at the land border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland? First of all, what was the government's planning assumption about what would actually happen at the border on day one? And then I want to come on to the point you just made a moment ago about the unsustainability of what might be happening.
So the government published its policy in February, March, about how it would avoid infrastructure at the border, which was the priority for the government. So, the policy was no customs and a minimum amount of essential checks on certain goods in certain circumstances. So that was to avoid having to do any sorts of checks at a border. What that would mean is, in principle, then any imports from Republic of Ireland would be able to cross into Northern Ireland without any sort of checks or customs or tariffs. So that flow would potentially be fine. But the trade in the opposite direction would not, because the Ireland would have to, our assumption was Ireland will have to impose customs and SBS checks on goods from Northern Ireland.
At the border?
Well, it has said it will have to do those checks, but it is not going to put any infrastructure on the border.
Right.
And therefore it has started to talk about ways of trying to do that away from the border. So I don't think they've been hugely detailed or specific about exactly what and how they would do that, but they would aim to do SBS checks in existing facilities in other locations away from the border. Now, the difficulty with that is the tariff differential would immediately make it uneconomic, is how stakeholders, I can only really tell you what stakeholders in Northern Ireland told us. They told us that it would immediately become uneconomic for Northern Ireland agri-food businesses to trade with Republic of Ireland because of the tariff and potential customs control barriers, especially in the circumstances where they don't actually know what would happen and how it would happen in Ireland. So their sense was that would stop, and that would be exacerbated by the fact that they would be able to see Republic of Ireland traders being able to still bring their goods into Northern Ireland without any barrier and without any tariffs. And that in itself would cause problems, immediate, I mean within days, even hours, I think some of the stakeholders were saying, would cause issues for Northern Ireland traders, businesses to go out of business. So that was the situation as we were anticipating. We obviously weren't anticipating delays as such, but simply a stop of normal trading business going across the border.
And that's got a real human dimension, because if you think of the haulier instructing the driver that morning, make your usual journey south into the Republic, is that driver going to be held somehow accountable for maybe retrospective or delayed checks that the Republic may want to make on that vehicle? There's quite an interesting grey area here between what is deemed to be smuggling, because no declarations are made, and in this situation it's a very, very vague legal area, but there will be individuals needing to confront that and run that risk. That's not fair on dropping the political indecision down onto the daily working lives of individual drivers and hauliers.
Now, you said it wouldn't be sustainable, and indeed the Operation Yellowhammer said that.
Yes.
So what would have to happen next?
Well, that was sort of precisely the problem. It's not sustainable because the border between Northern Ireland and Republic of Ireland would be potentially subject to challenge by other EU countries saying, well, that's not fair, it would break WTO rules. So the assumption was that that could be sustained for a period, but months or up to 12 months. And what was not clear was what happens then after 12 months. I think the assumption was that there would need to be some sort of special deal, which obviously takes you into a different place. But it was not clear what that's. Well, it wasn't clear to me, and I wasn't cited on any policy thinking about what that might look like.
Sounds like some kind of backstop arrangement, but yeah, I might say that, and you may not want to comment. Right, and you'd said earlier that the ability to have effective communication with your Irish counterparts was more difficult.
Yes.
In that they were less willing to share with you what, in fact, it was that they were going to do.
Yes,
Is that
absolutely. So I think
right?
I think UK government officials were and ministers were constantly trying to have conversations, but Ireland officials and ministers, as far as I could see, were simply not able or willing to talk to us about no deal arrangements. My assumption was that there, at that point at least, wasn't a no deal plan. There was certainly an assumption by the Republic of Ireland that no deal could not happen, would not happen because it could not happen, and therefore it wasn't clear that there was a plan at all. Now I'm sure there is some sort of plan now, but it's not clear what it is, and certainly by the end of June we still weren't able to talk to them about it.
Right, that's very clear. Now,